Just doing the podcast. What do you call this podcast?
This is Brad Questions.
Brad questions. All right, that's cool.
I'm Brad, and I got some questions for you.
Oh, that makes sense. Now I get it.
So, how long you been doing stand-up now?
Um, I, I guess it's fair to say 2 years. I think
Okay.
because I did it. I really started doing it. I guess when I was a senior in high school. I did a one-man show called Genius with a J because of play on words. It was straight, yeah,
Yeah.
mid honor roll, so I figured I'd do that. And I kind of did it on a dare because I did a lot of the school plays, and I did some impressions here and there, and they were like, "Whoa, Morgan, you're good at this. You can be like every character in the show." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess I could." So after that, I kind of wrote a one-man show, comedically, kind of for myself. And then I kind of, I just kind of delayed it for a few more years. I was in college, and then I just kind of got bored with what I was doing. I mean,
Hmm.
I was doing great in classes. I had, a decent job. I was an RA. I was making some amount of money. Room and board's taken care of. And I was like, you know what? This is. I kind of kept a notebook handy, and whatever I found funny, I just kind of just wrote it down. Something just mildly amusing came in my head. I just wrote it down. I kept writing and writing and writing. And then after, I just finished my sophomore year, so I'm going to be a junior after this summer. So
Okay.
once I finished that, I decided, you know what, let me try this again. And then it kind of hit me that this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. This is what I want to make a career out of.
So you, how long of a gap was that between performing that show in high school until you started up again?
I think it was always kind of in the back of my head because I am a theater major, so I got stuff like stage fright and stage presence out of the way.
Hmm.
But it never occurred to me like, hey, I can write my own jokes, my own material, do it the way I want to do it, deliver it my own way, and then kind of get in there with a specific thing that I want to say. Maybe an insightful point, maybe it's a fart joke, who knows?
Right.
Somewhere
Right.
in between. Just you get the best of both worlds. But I think that gap was probably it was a year gap
Okay.
because like I said, at that time I wasn't trying to make a career out of it. I just did it really just to prove a point, just to prove I did it, just to do it, just to shut up my friends and all that stuff, so I could have
Was it like? Go ahead.
something to brag about at grad parties. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah. Were you kind of like always the funny guy growing up, and your friends kept saying like, "Oh man, you should go up and perform,"
I think I
and
was
that
in
and
a
you finally broke down and did that?
I think, and this is probably something that worked out for me. I think I had an interesting group of friends.
Hmm.
And let me elaborate because I know I went to an all guys Catholic high school, and I guess it kind of works in my favor in some ways, and in others it doesn't. Like some guys my age don't even know how to tie a tie. I can do it in my sleep, backwards, blindfolded, upside down if I had to. But then there's other stuff like, how do you talk to girls and stuff like that. But yeah, as a comedian, you're gonna kind of have that anyway. So, but I think I was in a certain group where there was none of us who was like, okay, he's the smart one, he's the funny one, he's the cool one, he's the one that gets a lot of girls, he's this one. I think we were kind of like all that, where I think we
Okay.
were equally smart. Some were funnier than others, and some had, were more attractive than others to get girls at parties or whatever. But I think we kind of leveled each other out because we already were a little leveled out. We could go to a party, make a joke, make an observation. We were equally smart. We got good grades and ended up in decent schools. So it wasn't like, okay, we gotta he's the dead weight of the dumb guy, but he can make a joke. I guess that comes in handy for whatever the hell we want to do. No, but
Right.
I guess I always did have the most consistent set of things I wanted to say. I was that kid in Catholic school who got detention for making a joke about like the crucifixion or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, that kind of. I was that guy. So I mean, that's just the thing I did. I challenged a lot of ideas and whatnot. And after a while, my teachers were like, you know what, this guy actually did make a good point. And
A
what he said about
little bit of
what,
truth
what
to that, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. What he said about like we had a dress code, and the thing I always hated. Excuse me for a second. The thing I always hated about our dress code is we had to be clean cut. You couldn't grow out your hair. No beards, no mustaches. Every
Hmm.
picture of Jesus I ever seen, fucking beard, mullet all the way down to the side. So I made jokes like that in class, and it was just kind of I don't say rebellious attitude, but I guess it kind of carried on through.
Yeah.
So that
Was it something? Were you like watching movies and TV shows and said, "I want to be funny like that," or did it just more come naturally to you?
I guess it was a good combination of nature versus nurture. I guess
Okay.
in terms of being influenced by stuff on TV. Like early on, I would watch stuff like Bill Cosby and Jerry Seinfeld when I was a little kid. My
Mm-hmm.
parents would put in the old tapes and whatnot because they were clean cut humor.
Hmm.
And that was stuff for kids. But then once I reached a certain age, like 13 or 14, there were guys that had been around for ages I didn't even know about, like Richard Pryor, George Carlin, even Lenny Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
There was a whole other world that I just kind of opened up. And I was like, oh, yeah, these guys are awesome. Not only, I mean, yeah, they're vulgar. At the time when I first listened to, like, a Eddie Murphy CD or album, I just did it to hear curse words. I wasn't even really interested. Everything else might as well have been in Chinese, as long as you get, like, an F-bomb here, or, like, he says shit there, or whatever. This is fucking, that's really what I heard it for. But then as I got older, a little bit older, into the point where, like, maybe sophomore year of high school, I listened to what these guys actually had to say. And they're insightful points, and they're humorous too.
Yeah.
So I figured if I could do the same thing, just in a different way, hopefully, I don't want to be like a carbon copy.
So I assume you were seeking those guys out on your own then, huh?
I'm sorry?
I'm assuming you were kind of seeking those guys like Eddie Murphy and everybody else. You were kind of seeking them out on your own. Like your parents weren't putting those on for you.
Like, I always knew those guys like Eddie Murphy because I grew up with movies like Shrek and Madagascar and shit. I grew up with that stuff. So I knew who these guys were. I just didn't understand the magnitude of what they did. And like I told you, there were other guys like Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Red Fox, Lenny Bruce. These are people that I never even heard of. Didn't even know they existed. Like my parents must have said something like, "Hey, we're gonna go see George Carlin." I was like, "Oh, have fun." Is that like some uncle I never heard of? I didn't know. So these are people I did not know existed.
Yeah.
But until a certain point when I heard about, hey, I looked it up like, hey, George Carlin died. Like, unfortunately, I didn't really hear about George Carlin or know about him until after he passed. Same thing with Richard Pryor, because they made a big thing about it on the news. And mind you, I was like maybe in middle school when this stuff went down. So once I heard of it, then I heard about it, and then I got to know who these guys were, what they did, how they did it, what ideas they had. Like, I mean, not to shoot down any comedians today, but they like to call themselves edgy. Nah, dude, the stuff they did at that time was edgy. Like Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, hell, even Bill Hicks. There were some sets they did. They went off the stage in like handcuffs just because of some of the stuff they said.
Yeah.
Like not even the stuff they tried to point out, just some of the stuff that they said. So I'm not saying that's what I want to do. I don't want to go down for that, but that kind of thing.
Where, for your comedy, huh?
Yeah. That kind of thing where it's like, yeah, just because you said the word, fuck, fart, shit, and dick in the same sentence doesn't make you, edgy.
Right.
Make you funny, but edgy is like.
Yeah, it's funny to think about like how kind of what they did is just kind of commonplace now, but back then, like 30, 40 years ago, it was breaking whole new ground. Yeah,
like Lenny Bruce talking about BJ's or whatever. Back then, it's like, hey, dude, you might want to.
Yeah.
But now it's just kind of, it really is commonplace. Like every other comedian you hear about, and I'm not saying that everybody's like, trying to imitate the style or whatever, but I think it definitely is. There was a thing I said, Lenny Bruce did for stand-up comedians what Harry Houdini did for magicians. I mean, that I honestly think that's really what it does. These disappearing acts or let me see if I can levitate from the ceiling of the chain. That's really the kind of similar stuff to do. So he opened a whole new door to us.
That's interesting. I never thought about that. Like, I feel like I kind of associate Houdini with more of like people don't. I don't know how to put into words like comparing him to a magician, where it seems like a magician is almost kind of hacky, but I don't think of Houdini as hacky. It's more like
he was the trailblazer.
Right, I guess so. Yeah, it's like a very well thought out, and like he's not actually like disappearing, but it's more like a feat than a trick. I guess that's what I'm thinking of.
It doesn't feel like an illusion. It feels like genuine magic. Like that's really what it goes to. But as far as getting into stand-up comedy, it was something that was always in the back of my mind. but I never really pursued it, or I never really thought I could pursue it
Mm-hmm.
because I was trying to figure out, okay, do I want to joke about stuff that's happened to me, like zany family barbecues, or do I want to make a social observation about this, that, and the other? Now that I've kind of figured I can do a little bit of both
Mm-hmm.
and kind of channel like me personally, I don't like to joke about myself entirely. Not saying that I don't think I'm interesting or funny, but it's just I think there's better stuff to joke about. Like me at a family barbecue, yeah, that can be a little relatable, but what's more relatable? The stuff people do when they're stuck in traffic, or the stuff that I do when I'm stuck in a family reunion I don't want to be at.
Yeah.
You know what I
So
mean? Because
how?
that's stuff you do on a daily basis.
Right. How? So how often are you going up now? Now that you're back into it?
As far as open mics go, I don't know. No, sorry, got to get the plug and the
Yeah. Yeah. Go. Sure.
selfless self promotion. But I am going to be at Zissimo's tomorrow night, 8 p.m. I'm going to be a featured act. I think got about 7 or 8 minutes. I'll find out when they give me the light. But yeah, I've definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited because there was a time I went to Zissimo's like every single Friday, and I realized you kind of got to go to different places
Yeah.
and see which one you like the most. But and you can even frequent those places, but don't go there every single time. Like I did the new talent showcase at Magooby's Joke House a couple of times. I stopped doing that because I realized it was kind of expensive. But yeah, I stopped doing that then, and I went on to do stuff like Zissimo's, High Tops Bar and Grill, the Sidebar, just anywhere I really could, and anywhere that would really let me.
And you're in Baltimore, right?
Yeah, well, Catonsville, but yeah, technically Baltimore.
Baltimore area. The places
Yeah,
you're going to are in Baltimore.
yeah, I guess I'm in Baltimore County, so I guess yeah.
How? So what's the scene like around there?
It seems like there's a lot of stuff, and believe it or not, a lot of people do some of the same stuff. Where it's getting to a point, and maybe this is a good thing because I can start networking. Not that I haven't,
Mm-hmm.
but you definitely come in, and I say, hey, you know what? I saw this guy before. Hey, this guy had a funny set. Like, do you know Mark Joyner or Dark Mark? Or you've
Uh-uh.
heard of? Okay, no? Okay. Well, I was just that these are just people like I'm just throwing out examples. I don't mean
Yeah.
to name drop, but I'm starting to see the same people, everywhere. And networking does come in handy, especially like even on a small level. Like I guess even if amateur hour level, it definitely works because there are some places where I do like the Sidebar on what they do, where it's not necessarily first come first serve. But it's like, hey, look, if I know this guy's funny, or if I've seen him perform before, or if he's performed here
Mm.
before, or whatever, he gets to go up earlier. And the newbies or the people that you've never seen before, sorry, even if you had jokes planned, you're gonna go toward the bottom.
Yeah.
That's I kind of do like that style because it's just you got to prove it because otherwise at Zissimo's, I love the place, love the venue, love the people that go, but it's just you get people that just are not that funny and they go up and they completely stink up the stage and then you got to go pick them after them. I mean, I respect anybody that goes up there because it is a courageous thing to do. Not everybody can do it.
Definitely. Yeah.
Not everybody can even really talk to people, past a FaceTime level like this, let
Yeah.
alone get
Yeah.
up on a stage in front of people and try to talk. So it's not an easy thing to do, and I acknowledge that. I understand why people get stage fright, but I also kind of understand why they push the new guys toward the back and let the people that have kind of done this.
Right.
Because I had performed at the Sidebar once, or actually twice, but there was one time before, 3 years actually. This is before I did my one man show. This is just kind of me and my friends and I snuck into a bar. And we weren't going to drink anyway because one of us had to drive and they'd figure us out. So we were like, hey, we got this far. Let's just
Don't
chill
blow
out.
it.
Let's just observe. Let's just blend in.
Play
You
cool.
got a bar, doesn't mean you got to drink. And I was joking, and we went in there and we told jokes, and that was the point where I kind of saw, hey, I can go up in front of people and talk, but I didn't have anything prepared. I was dead in the water. I had
So
nothing
you went up that
prepared.
night
Yeah, I went up that night way
with
back
nothing
when.
prepared and just kind of went off the cuff.
Yeah, because I didn't really know how it was done. I didn't know you had to actually write stuff down. Because I
Yeah.
saw people do improv and whatnot, but I was like, oh, wait, those guys are in a group with
Yeah.
other funny people. It's just little old me up there with a microphone. I didn't have anything prepared, so I figured, hey, let me just say a few obscenities, and that's funny. That's not really
How'd that go?
Oh, terrible. It was god awful. That was one of my first times actually doing it. And like I said, I wasn't even really committed to the
Right.
idea.
Right.
I just
right.
did it because I was like, okay, they're gonna catch on to us if we're just three guys in a bar, not drinking, not interacting with anybody,
Yeah.
just kind of like that the whole time. So it's like, oh, okay, let's participate in something that they do. So it was really just more like a way to keep you covered. But then I kind of fell in love with the idea of, okay, I can do that. And I
Yeah.
kind of let it subside. But then it came back and just hit even
Is
stronger.
enough of a bug to bite you, huh?
Yeah, it did. It had a delayed reaction. It bit me at first. I tried to treat it, tried to put some ointment on it, but it came back
Still
stronger than
there.
ever. Yeah.
So these places like Sidebar that are a little more, you would say, a little more established of a setup where they're not just going like whoever can come up. It's like, okay, we know this guy.
Yeah.
You can go up.
And
We
they
don't know
do
you as much.
encourage, yeah, they do encourage new people and whatnot. They do, but they say, hey, look, we don't know if you're that fun. We know this guy can be funny. We know this guy's funny. I've seen him perform. He's not the best, but hey, he put in his dues. So that I do appreciate that. But the thing is, that was the first time I performed at Sidebar. That was before I even met the guy who runs it, Mark Joyner. And I performed at some other places. There was a St. Mary's restaurant. It's like this Jamaican restaurant that I performed there a couple of times. The venue wasn't necessarily the best, but that's neither here nor there. It's just whatever. I found a better venue. That's really the point I'm trying to say here. That's not saying anything bad about them. I just found a better opportunity
Right.
that with better stuff to do. And I went there and I was thinking to myself, you know what? Yeah, I seen him perform at St. Mary's once. I seen him perform at Zissimo's. He was actually hosting a Zissimo's once when I went up to perform. And he said, hey man, that was a funny set. That was crazy. Sorry we put you up last. It's first come first serve. I was like, oh, I get it. He said, well, if you come to Sidebar, we put you up pretty early. I wasn't the first to go, but I went up around fifth or sixth, which is great.
Yeah.
I don't mind going up first. Sometimes I like to just get it out the way. But when it's a night where I really want people to laugh and I want to test out new material, I hate going first personally because it's not everybody's there, and two, a lot of people can say, well, not everybody's drunk. Because what? I mean, if you're funny, you're funny. You can laugh at something sober as opposed to laughing at
Yeah, that's true.
If you got to rely on people to laugh at you drunk, then I got some bad news for you, buddy. You might want to start drinking yourself before you go up there. But I think the thing is with me, it's just I met him and he was like, hey dude, let's have you sign on for the Sidebar. And I went on and I really enjoyed the venue. I love the people there. A lot of his people are just comedians who brought their friends. But
what's the breakdown of comedians versus just people who are walking in?
Normal everyday civilians. Yeah, I think it's a lot of comedians. I don't know what the ratio is. I'm gonna say maybe it's a 3 to 1. Like for every one regular person, it's gonna be a comedian, 3 comedians. Because a lot of these comedians, they bring their friends too.
Right.
Who may or may not also be comedians or whatever.
Yeah.
So I joked, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh man, I'm not performing for regular people. This sucks. They're not gonna really like it. Of course, they're not gonna like my stuff because they're gonna compare it to their stuff. And if it's bad, they're really gonna hate it. And if it's good, they're gonna hate it even more because then the whole time they're gonna be like, well, why didn't I think of that? But the thing that I realized was a blessing in disguise is that's a network. As far as comedians goes, that's a hornet's nest, and I mean that in the best way possible. Because everywhere I went, within arm's reach, there was a comedian there sipping on a drink, being cynical, or just doing something stupid, or laughing, or saying, "Hey," I even kind of jump into conversations with other comedians because it's a community essentially.
Yeah.
And I was saying to myself, I was like, they were talking, hey, have you done Magoobies? No, man, I did Magoobies. That place it's all right, but you should really do this most. You do this most, I want to do this. And I kind of butt into the conversation and say, hey, not trying to interrupt. And they look at me like, but once I mention I'm a comedian, they're like, oh, hey, what's up, man? Even if they never met me before. So that definitely works. I definitely get a network going. I also have learned to use social media just to kind of get a topic out there. I was kind of dead in the water on Facebook for a little bit because I was really getting tired of seeing, all these BuzzFeed quiz results. Like I don't care which Sons of Anarchy character you are. I don't. Breaking Bad maybe, but Orange is the New Black. Out of here.
How are you gauging the feedback you get from comedians versus civilians, if you will? Like, can you tell like in the moment when you're up there on stage, or is it all?
That's the thing. When I'm on stage, I'm not thinking of in the back of my head, oh, I wonder what the other comedians are going to think about this.
Right.
I wonder what that might make them laugh. I don't know. Because the thing is, I'm performing for everybody.
Yeah. And can you tell like when you're getting laughs? Can you tell like these are like the comedians are laughing at that one, versus, oh, this joke, that's everybody else laughing at that one.
I think the thing is, comedians, the ones that I've noticed, the ones that I've talked to and just hung out with, they kind of they don't necessarily laugh as hard as the regular people do, because they kind of observe and they watch and maybe even critique or constructively kind of say, hey man, you know what you could do? You could do this here. You might want to slow your delivery down, because that's a clever thing to say. Not a lot of people are going to get that, and by the time they do, you're on to the next joke, and they got to play catch up with everything you're saying. So just kind of, so I do appreciate comedian feedback. With other regular people, not trying to like talk down to anybody, but I'm just kind of like, hey, did you think it was funny? What did you think was funny about it? All right, cool. On to the next one. Hey, did you think it was funny that? So it's just, and sometimes people can have just regular audience goers can have some insightful things to say, as far as, what makes a joke funny, what makes a joke funny to them. Maybe they say, hey, instead of joking about relationships, every comedian who's ever lived has joked about relationships or like weddings, marriage, job, shit. Joke about, some I don't want to say touchier topics, but topics that just kind of, what's socially acceptable versus why is this not socially acceptable, but this is. Block my face for a second. Like, I even made a joke about, burps, sneezes, coughs, and farts, where I was joking. Like, one time I was at a diner with my friends. I burped out loud, and I excused myself immediately. And then they were like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why do you do that? And I was like, sorry, it's good food. That's like a compliment. And then the other guy who criticized me just went, like that, sneezed right there. He put his arm over his mouth.
Yeah.
You sneezed over food. This could kill. That could, if you had like like Ebola or some shit, that might kill me. I don't know. And then I said, so let me ask you this. People think burps and farts are gross, right? But then you have coughs and sneezes. People will say, God bless you, or they'll go, oh my God, are you okay? Oh, geez, I hope you're feeling better. What the fuck? No, that's stupid. When's the last time a fart got you sick?
Yeah.
You never had to take
out. It's all natural, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't spread diseases. You get pink eye, but you got to be like right up in the.
That's
You got to be right.
A lot of circumstances got to be in place for that to happen.
Exactly. It's got to be in 3D for that to happen.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, what did the burp ever do to you? Remind you how good breakfast tasted?
Yeah.
So there's a positive with that. So I guess a lot of people think about, sorry, never had to look for a tissue after a burp. A fart, maybe toilet paper, but that's about it. So you kind of.
Circumstances lead to that.
Yeah, so I figured a way to kind of, because I think fart jokes are kind of viewed as like the lowest of the low humor, but if you can make them clever,
right,
and even to a certain extent insightful, because I told that to some other people, and they were just like, they stopped dead in their tracks, and they're like, right, yeah. They actually found it to be very insightful. I think it is to a certain degree. It's very insightful.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like anything, like offensive topics, lowbrow topics, whatever. As long as it's smart or funny, then it's going to land. I feel like.
Yeah, and I try to be clever with my humor. I don't mind like cursing in my acts. I just don't really. I try to be funny, clean, and dirty. Because if you can be funny, clean, and dirty, then you got it. That's really my biggest thing right there. Whereas I like to look at it as intellectual vulgarity. That's really,
again, like using the offensive smartly and in a clever way, right?
Yeah, like for instance, my sister doesn't really approve of me, saying words like fucking shit or whatever. But like I said, well, let me get this straight. You think it limits my vocabulary? Well, how am I going to improve my vocabulary when you keep taking words away from me? That's the thing. I mean, that's a certain way you have to look at it.
You're just trying to use all the weapons that are available.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, language is a weapon if you know how to use it, and if you're smart about it, you're invincible. You can definitely get some points across with. I'm sorry, I had to check my statuses real quick. I posted an interesting controversial status. Sorry, I just hit puberty yesterday. Controversial status, just to kind of stir the pot, just to see, and this is also smart, just to kind of see how can I joke about this but not cross the line. Like so
you're just doing you're doing material research right now, huh?
Yeah, like the thing is, I used to ask the audience's permission to do a joke, and a lot of other comedians told me, dude, don't do it. Because the thing is, here's how you can tell if good advice is really good advice. Good advice sounds the same anywhere you go. If
Mm-hmm.
you want to get in shape, they say, hey, drink water, quit the soda, stop eating junk food, exercise. You can hear that from any decent advice person ever. Or if you want to get good grades, stop sleeping late, study, go to class. That advice sounds the same. So I heard from every comedian, they said, dude, Morgan, I get what you're trying to do to kind of test the water because you don't know these people and they don't know you. But here's the thing. Don't ask for permission to tell a joke. Just tell it. You will find out soon enough if the joke is funny. Trust me, you will find out. So I was thinking to myself, all right, yeah, that works.
What kind of reaction were you getting when you did ask permission? There were people like no, and would you not tell the joke?
I mean, every once in a while there'd be like a couple of smart asses go, no, man, don't do it. I don't want it. And or people would like, I was like, is it cool if I make a Muslim joke or whatever? But it was like a clever joke. Like once again, I don't want to give away all my jokes on this
Yeah,
podcast.
no.
But I said something like, hey, what'd you think of that Muslim girl? She aight. Yeah, exactly. It's clever. I mean, not everybody got it, but yeah, it's exactly. You gotta let it sink in.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I asked permission for that joke, and you already kind of kill the atmosphere when you do, because they're thinking in their head, "Oh shit, he's gonna tell a Muslim joke."
Yeah, because they're already making assumptions.
Yeah, they're like,
and
geez,
whatever you do, no matter what, it's not gonna fit what they were thinking.
Well, yeah, when you ask permission for a joke, you essentially turn a 5-minute set into a shot from the doctor's office.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're anticipating something much worse, and then they go, oh, that wasn't best. So why'd you hype it up so? All right. So then it actually kind of kills the joke.
Yeah.
They're thinking, oh, this is gonna be good, and they're like, that was it.
I feel you're kind of giving up control to them too. Like
yeah,
you're kind of putting it out to them when you're on stage. You have the microphone. It's your time. You should be in control.
This ain't improv. I'm not asking for suggestions.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking improv, but I'd rather do stand up than improv. It's just, I mean, and kudos to those who can do improv and make up stuff on the fly and ad lib. Not really my thing. I kind of like to go up with an idea at least of what I'm doing.
Have you ever done it?
Improv? Yeah, I do improv at my school. I did it to kind of get past not stage fright, but just the idea of you can improvise, then even if you lose control, you still have some little nugget of power right there.
I feel like that's where the yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, that's really where I was like, yeah, if you can do this, then you're good. But I only save improvisation for when I absolutely positively need it. Like if I'm doing a play at school, if the lights don't go on, they say,
Mm-hmm.
oh damn, it's real dark out here. What do you say to that? And then keep it continuing to get the lines through. I only use it as like I use it as emergency backup power. It's not really
Okay.
It really is.
Not much.
Or if I just forget something and I say, well, fuck, I knew there was something here. Let me just make up something else funny. That's outside of that. It's not really my style. I mean, people can improvise if they want to. Not really my sort of thing, but
yeah,
more power to them.
I feel like that's kind of where a lot of crowd work comes from, is like an improv background.
Yeah, that too. A lot of people told me having a theater background is good too because it gets rid of stage fright, stage anxiety. Because stage fright, for a little bit, I kind of had it. Not terribly, but enough to the point because it's a psychological thing, and it can psych you out if you let it. Because you're on stage, sometimes you get a light pointed. You can see everybody, but you can't really see them. And you got to focus
outlines a little bit.
Yeah, you see like silhouettes, and it's almost kind of ghostly. And you can maybe see people that resemble people, or even people but you can't. Excuse me, you can't really. Sorry, I had Chipotle. You can't really focus on them, and because you got to focus on what you're doing. You have to focus on what you're doing, not how you're doing it, and not necessarily how they're receiving it. That's like after stuff. You can focus on that stuff after, not necessarily in the moment. But they can see you. They can see you as clear as a bell. They can see you
everything.
Sweat. They can see. So that's kind of where it really that right there is just it's an odd thing. It is. It's very bizarre and it can freak you out. And I can see why people don't necessarily like to do it. I don't really let it bug me, but it's one of those things like if you don't, I can understand. I get it.
But you're not really tripped up by it anymore then?
Not really. I don't, because it's just I kind of use that anxiety and nervousness to kind of power on through. Like I turn the anxiety into adrenaline just to kind of get on through.
Do you
It's
do you think it's
it's like
more like a person to person, like people get over it eventually, or do you think there are still people who've been doing stand up for 20 years that still get nervous to go up on stage each night?
I think the latter is correct. Like some people might be able to get over it, or maybe some people don't get over it. They just get better at it,
Yeah,
and they kind of because with me, that's
they
not saying I
control it
never.
better.
That's not saying I never get nervous. I mean, sometimes if it's a high stakes crowd, like if you're doing your first HBO special, you're going to naturally get nervous because
Hmm.
they're taping it. So not only is it when I do an open mic, it's an isolated incident. So if I mess up, it's like, hey, look, I'll get them next week, whatever. But it's on tape and it's gonna be broadcast. So it's like it's gonna be sticking with you. Yeah. That's the stuff high schoolers are gonna be talking about, and then
Yeah,
teenagers' opinions become relevant once more. So that's really. I think there's a time to be nervous, but you can use that nervousness and kind of the same way animals use adrenaline to kind of get out of certain situations. That's the way I use it, and that's the way I'm sure a lot of other people use it.
hmm.
So it works.
You talked. I want to go back. You talked earlier about comedians not really laughing at material; they're just kind of sitting back there analyzing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I assume then are you doing that too? Where if you're watching a set, you're kind of thinking, oh, I would have done this there, and I would have moved this part ahead of it, and whatever.
Yeah, I kind of do. I don't really go up to them and say, hey, I would have done that. I don't really give advice unless they ask for it.
Yeah.
That's just the thing. Because I hate when people do that. I don't mean to sound snotty or like a
No, no, you're a
but it's
courteous
like
person.
yeah, I just don't unless you really did ask for advice or insight, or unless I said, hey, it'd be funny if you said that, like unless it's something truly like gut bustingly hysterical, then
Yeah.
yeah, I do. But then the times I've done that where I'm like, shit, I could have saved that for myself. I'm not goddamn big mouth. So it's just I don't really give advice unless they really ask for it or unless they really need it. But even
Are you
then,
taking
still.
are you taking like lessons then of that to your own material? Like, oh, he kind of went this way with it, but maybe I could go that way with my joke in the same kind of
Yeah.
vein. Not that you're like ripping off material, but just like thematically going in certain directions with jokes.
Yeah. I've heard other people say, hey, especially my mom, she says, hey, slow down your delivery. It's funny, but the problem is it's clever. And you got to, and I was like, how's that a problem? That's a bonus. He's like, yeah, a lot of people don't necessarily appreciate clever sometimes, or they just don't really get it. Like it's clever, and if you make a clever joke, they don't really have time to digest it.
Yeah, like give it time to breathe a little bit.
Yeah, give it a little. It's almost like a comedy grenade. You gotta
Hmm.
just let it. You gotta just let it, blow up before it hits somebody.
And that's
And I was
what's the state? Sorry, go ahead.
I was thinking of oh no, my bad. I was just saying like there are certain things where or other things where I would just kind of dwell on it and people would just be like, okay, it's not really fun. But if I say it faster and hit it with a certain delivery, then people are like, oh hey, that works, yeah. So
Hmm.
some things you kind of got to speed through, some things you got to drop, some things you got to dwell on, some things you just got to just let it go, let it say it, and move on to the next thing, and other things you just got to dwell and let the audience digest for a little bit, and
Hmm.
move on to the next thing. That's
And
really
I'm
that's
sure that's like the hardest thing to do too, is just to kind of to be up on stage and not be saying anything. Just like letting your jokes sit. Like it's one thing to go up there in the first place and talk at people, but to go up there and just stand.
yeah, it is too because sometimes I realized I did that one time and I realized I was standing too long. So I was waiting on it, but as soon as and something I even like to do is I like to wear like funny T-shirts
Uh-huh.
with the thank you. For instance, hang on, like it's a shirt that says "disobey"
Oh,
with
there we
the
go.
guy from V for Vendetta on
Yeah.
it. So that way, even if they don't laugh at anything I say, they laugh at my actual shirt. I know that sounds a little bizarre, but it has worked for me, and it's kind of like a softener. It gives them something to look forward to. Like, oh, well, what kind of wacky shirt is he gonna wear today, man? I've even seen that where I was telling a joke, and one guy was kind of, and then he leaned in. He was sitting in the front, and he leaned in real close, like he was staring at me real good. And
Hmm.
and just when I started to say, dude, what the fuck is your problem, man? Back off. He like backed up and laughed, and he pointed at my shirt, and I was like, oh shit, like. But it was just funny to me because that's just my thing. I do that on stage, off stage, everywhere I go. So I'm thinking to myself like, oh, okay, well, I guess this works. It just didn't really stick in my head that these shirts could actually work as a part of the delivery themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So where's it going from here? You keep doing open mics. What's on the horizon?
Well, I got my first spot as a featured act tomorrow
Oh,
night, which
cool!
is awesome.
Congratulations.
Which is yeah, my name's on a poster and everything. I got to promote myself on Facebook. And the thing is, I did that, and I'm trying to do more. And I realized the is coming to a close, and I know that I can't really do as much as I want to out in Virginia. You know, I mean, I can still write jokes. When I'm
Hmm.
coming back next summer, I'm coming back with a vengeance. I'm coming back with jokes,
Oh
man.
boy.
Yeah, so get ready. This is Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader right here. Robin, this is not even my final form. So this is definitely. And I even found a decent stage name. That was my problem. I didn't want something too wacky to the point where it's like, you can't really be brought up in average conversation. Like, no offense to people like Cedric the Entertainer, but it's just like you can't. That's not a name you can drop in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
It's like you can't say, "Hey, yeah,
Hey,
so
this is
Cedric
my
the
friend
Entertainer."
Cedric the Entertainer. Yeah.
Yeah, this is my beer, the inebriator. You can't. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So I figured Morgan Brown is my actual name on a birth certificate. Morgan Julian. That's Julian is my middle name.
Okay.
So I'm not. I'm not. It's not a far leap. And people have done it
Yeah.
before. Ray Charles, for instance, his name was Ray Robinson, but people kept confusing him with the boxer,
Hmm.
Sugar Ray
Yeah.
Robinson. So he changed his name to Ray Charles. I changed my name to Morgan Julian. It is still technically my name, and in a way, it's my proper name because it's Morgan Julian Brown. So I took the first two, because Morgan Julian pops on a resume more than Morgan Brown does.
Yeah. Sticks out a little more.
It does, yeah. And just Morgan Julian, just it hits.
Yep.
An intro, welcome to the stage, Morgan Brown, Morgan Julian. That it just slides out better. But I also
Yeah.
realized, not trying to fall off topic, but I also realized that the key to really opening well is not necessarily having a good opener, it's having a good intro.
Hmm.
That's why I've really stressed the point of having a good MC. Not saying that I've ever had a bad MC, but the thing is, when you get somebody who's like, all right, welcome to the stage, Morgan Julian, do your jokes.
Yeah. Kind of sets the
No,
tone. That's the tone bad.
then that now I gotta. You see what I mean? It's
But then
like
you got to battle back from adversity, then, right? And then you climb that
yeah,
ladder, and
and then by the time I have, it's too late, and then I gotta screw the next guy over by being passive aggressive and doing what you did to me to him or her. So I think the thing is, I always try to have people. One of my favorite openers, and it's cheesy, but it works. I always tell the guy who's introducing me, the host or the MC or whatever. I always say, hey, before you introduce me, say like a bunch of random crazy credits. I don't care. Just make them up. Say TBS, HBO, or whatever, and it works. And then, or even like I've only done that once. And one guy he just said, "Welcome to the stage, Jamie Foxx," and I was like, oh, "God damn it!" So and he gets people's attention. They get like all ready and hyped up. Like, "Oh boy, we're in for it today." Or one other thing I like to do is this is one of my favorite all time openers is when I go up there I always say, hey, introduce me as Morgan fucking Julian. And then as soon as they say Morgan fucking Julian, because you get like
because you can't just like downplay it.
yeah, you can't just like Morgan fucking Julian. Who cares? Like you're gonna think did they get in a fight earlier? Is that why he just said his name like that? Because you kind of have to say it like that. And then once I get up there, I always start with, all right, just for the record, that's not my middle name. And then just kind of go
You
into
kind of got
whatever.
it in already.
It's a cheap little laugh.
Yeah.
But it works. It's enough to kind of get people go, nice.
Yeah.
And then, but once you get that first chuckle or whatever, once you hit them with the first jab, you've essentially they're in the palm of your hand.
Because the audience already has some level of trust with the MC. So if they can kind of bring you in on that, then you got a head start already on your set.
Yeah, exactly. I always love to do that, and I don't know. And it's always funny to me if I can like drop an F-bomb without actually dropping an F-bomb. Because the way that started was I was at Magoobies with my parents this one time, and I was performing, and I had my friends there, and my parents were like, "We don't want to really hear you use a lot of language." And I was like, "All right, so it's not the FCC I got to worry about; it's mom and dad." So I was there, and they wanted to see me perform, and I was like, hey, I'd love to have them come, have them support. That just means my parents approve of my lifestyle. Not a lot of people can say that.
Right. It's a good
So
thing.
I went in, yeah, exactly. So I went in, and I was like, yeah, I told the host, I was like, hey, look, my parents don't really want me saying the F word. They're like, all right, that's a fucking weird thing to say to me. All right. But I was like, but what I want you to do is introduce me as Morgan fucking Julian. Just like that, verbatim. You can say it any other inflection or whatever. You can emphasize other syllables, Morgan Julian or whatever. I don't care. But just make sure you say it verbatim. So I said the F word without actually saying it. And that was just the ability to get away with that was kind of cool. It's fun to write your way out of corners. It is. I think
Yeah.
that's one thing I like being aesthetic. Just I have that rebellious nature, and so when I can do something without actually doing it or get away with or find a loophole, that's great.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's definitely where you find the comedy, I think.
yeah. That's where I really find my comfort zone. You kind of use
Hmm.
very intellectual humor in very childish ways. That's very yeah. I think that's probably
That's your tagline right there.
yeah, no, it is. I mean, that's yeah, yeah. Essentially, yeah, it is using very intellectual, adult humor in very childish ways. Just kind of be like, hey, you can't joke about religion. Can I joke about your like the way? Can I joke about the way we joke about race or religion? That's another thing. I don't really like joking about race or religion. Not because I don't want to joke about it. I'll joke about it in a minute. I'll joke about it right now. But I joke about the way we joke about it.
Hmm.
Like for instance, somebody got offended by that Shiite joke I made, and I said to myself, "Well, you got the joke, right?" So yeah. Well, you understand that's like Sunni and Shiite, right? That's like Catholic Baptist. That's a different like denomination. It may not be the most popular, but it's a different denomination. And
Hmm.
other people are just like, "Man, you made fun of Muslims." I was like, "Do you know what a Shiite is?" They're like, "No." So if you don't know what it is, then you don't know enough about the religion of Islam to actually make a statement one way or the other.
And
So in turn,
you're not like you're putting down the religion. It's just a play on
no.
words.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's simple wordplay, and you'd be surprised at how much wordplay will piss people off.
Yeah.
Honestly, but I think wordplay is very clever. Like I even joked about, I don't want to give away all my jokes on this
No, yeah, don't
podcast.
do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm really worried about because then somebody's gonna listen and say, "Hey, I like that Morgan Julian guy." And I was like, "What the fuck? We gave away? This was his new hour. This was the setting before." Uh,
Well, so where can we find you on Twitter or Facebook, whatever? Where do you want to promote here?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked that. Here's time for the shameless self promotion. You can
Yeah.
find me on Facebook at Morgan Julian. It's me. What? You can't. Are they going to be able to see this, or is this just listen?
If they watch the YouTube, but mostly people will probably just be listening.
Okay. Well, look for the black person with smiling like a sideways smirk, probably wearing a red shirt. Might actually be this same shirt. I washed this. Don't worry. Um, it's gonna be Morgan Julian. You'll just tag enough people, and I'll be the one accepting pretty much everybody because I just like publicity. And on Twitter, you can find me at Genius Morgan J. Genius is spelled with a J, like Jenius instead of the G. Just, like I said, another play on words.
Yeah.
Genius with a J. Um, you can also find me on Snapchat, Genius Morgan J. You can also find me on Instagram, Genius Morgan J. You starting to see a pattern here?
Yeah, I got it. You got the whole
Exactly.
brand set now. I like it.
Exactly.
Well, I'll link all this too in the when I post this.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah,
I had a
it's
little.
been great talking to you, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Eric Navarro. Right.
Yeah, that's me.
All right. I would shake your hand, but
No, I'm Brad. I'm Brad.
oh, okay, Brad. My bad. Yeah. Sorry,
No, it's all good.
I had a little
Um,
trouble finding the place last time, so that's yeah. This is fun though. This is interesting. So
yeah.
yeah. But as far as so, do you do stand up comedy, or is just a you just
No, I'm
strictly
just
podcast?
doing the podcast. Yeah,
Okay. Well, this is definitely interesting.
but very interested in it. So
Yeah.
I've loved talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll definitely be back on if you want me to. Just last time I had to get it set up, and I'm stupid when it comes. I'm a philosophy minor, not a technical one, so I'm not gonna.
That explains it then.
I'll sit there argue if technology is good or bad. I won't actually figure out how to use it.
Hmm.
I'm like an old person.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, man.
All right,
I'll talk to you later.
all right. Adios. Do I just hang up?